Americans, are you feeling a little lonely? Perhaps you've noticed that the world feels bigger, emptier, and colder than it did in your parents' day. Perhaps you've scrolled through your phone at midnight, surrounded by thousands of voices, and still felt utterly alone. Do not worry. This film is here to help. This is Karen Whitfield and Robert Aldous from the Planning Committee. They wanted to choose someone from the floor to join them for happy hour on Friday. Whomever Karen and Robert choose, you can be sure of one thing. It probably won't be Claire. That's not because Claire doesn't want friends. It's something almost everyone wants, and for a very good reason. It's important to your health and to the health of your community. Claire may look to the rest of the office like she pushes everyone away, won't contribute to the office culture, like she simply doesn't try. Let's go back to the start of her week and see why that isn't quite true. Here's Claire, 7:15 in the morning, first shift. Making friends is a matter of having time left over after everything else is accounted for. Claire isn't allowed that luxury. It just doesn't quite fit into her schedule. By the time Claire's first shift ends, it's 3:30. By the time her second one starts, it's 4. In between, there isn't quite enough time to see anyone, and there isn't quite little enough time to feel like resting either. Here's Claire at 9 p.m., her second shift finally over, sitting down to eat dinner. You might notice she has her phone out. Everyone does at this hour. It isn't really a want. It's the only door left open after the others have closed for the night. The doors are always closed, really. Claire has tried going out before. She has tried going to a bar. She's tried going to a coffee shop. It used to be a place people went to see each other. Now it's mostly a place people go to sit alone, next to other people sitting alone, each of them with a laptop open and a set of headphones in. Nobody at the next table is going to strike up a conversation with Claire. They're not being unfriendly. They're working too, most likely, or trying to look like they are, the same as her. And once she's stayed long enough, someone behind the counter will ask her politely to order something else, or to make room for somebody who will. So say Claire gives up on finding a connection out in public and tries to mingle with her co-workers following the promise of a warm office culture. They did say they were like a family when they hired her after all. So she smiles at the right time. She asks about someone's vacation. She goes to happy hour on Friday. And slowly she begins to understand what everyone else already knows. The office isn't really a family. A family does not speak of you in a room you were not invited to, does not trade your name for a promotion, a raise, a moment's advantage over someone else who also believed they belonged there. A family does not measure your worth in 15-minute increments. It does not require you to justify this quarter the affection it extended to you last quarter. And it does not take all it can from you when it deems the season of your usefulness has quietly ended. A family does not walk you to an elevator and wish you luck. So what is a girl like Claire supposed to do when all the fun in her life is out of her control? And to that we say, suck it up, buttercup. People made friends during the Great Depression. And so she does. She sucks it up, bottles it in, and resorts to the one place that will guarantee her happiness, her phone. She keeps going back to it despite 30% of her generation stating that social media use has given them real, measurable anxiety. For millennials, that number is closer to 21%. Baby boomers, Gen X, under 15 as well. We'll check back in with Claire later. Let's meet someone else. Here's Ray. Ray is a friendly man, a part of Generation Z. Like every generation before him, Ray wants nothing more than a few close friends to build a life around. Ray gets off work. Ray has an evening free. Ray, like his father and his father's father, would like to go somewhere and see people. But the country has lost nearly a third of its bowling alleys and a fifth of its movie theaters since 2001. The bar that used to be walking distance from Ray's apartment is now a phone repair kiosk. The one still standing has raised its prices. Food costs at restaurants are up 38% and labor costs up 35% since 2019, with menu prices up 31% since 2020. And nearly half of restaurant operators say they didn't turn a profit last year at all. So, with the cheap rooms gone and the ones left charging more than Ray has left over at the end of the month, what exactly is a man like Ray supposed to do? And to that we say, get off the damn phone and go outside, you entitled snowflake. Ray decided to try a mall. Perhaps he could meet a friendly person there? But 72% of large enclosed shopping malls in the United States have disappeared since their peak in the 1980s. Ray tried the library, Ray tried the park, But after COVID-19, when American communities lost hangout spaces of every kind, coffee shops, museums, rec centers, libraries, and every single category the researchers tracked, Ray decides to stay home. It's cheaper that way. Between 2014 and 2019, before any of this had a name, the average American's time with friends had already fallen by 37%, from 6.5 hours a week down to 4. So Ray does what most of his generation does. He scrolls. He comments on viral posts and follows the latest trends. That's his version of community, and in a way, it works. There are always people there, millions of them. Someone is always posting something. Someone is always watching. Someone is always arguing in the comments. Ray can open his phone at midnight and find hundreds of people laughing at the same joke he is. He can follow someone he's never met, know what they ate for breakfast, where they went on vacation, and what they think about the latest political scandal. He can feel connected without ever having to leave the house. But there's a strange problem with this kind of community. The people in it don't actually know Ray, and Ray doesn't know them. They just know that they like the same video, and that's enough to keep the machine going. So Ray scrolls a little further. Now here we land, in an America that is more connected than ever, and even more divided. Between 67% and 80% of Generation Z report experiencing loneliness, making them the loneliest generation compared to Millennials, 65%, Gen X, 60%, and Baby Boomers, 44%. And yet, Generation Z spends an average of 4 to 5 hours a day on social media. 70% of Gen Z report feeling addicted to their phones. They are the loneliest generation and the most connected. They have more followers than friends, more likes than conversations, more notifications than handshakes. And we must say, we are quite proud of how it has turned out. We have achieved what our predecessors could only dream of. We have created a generation of young Americans who have no friends, no hobbies, no third places, no community. They have nothing except their screens, their notifications, and their endless scrolling thumbs. So what do? They work. They work and they scroll. They scroll and they work. They work to afford the apps. They scroll to escape the loneliness. And when they are exhausted from both, they sleep, just enough to wake up and do it all over again. A generation without friends is a generation without distractions. A generation without hobbies is a generation without alternatives. A generation without community is a generation that has no choice but to produce. And produce they have. They make our products. They buy our products. They engage with our algorithms. They watch our ads. They click our links. They spend their wages on our subscriptions. They trade their attention for our profits. They trade their loneliness for our growth. So to all the Rays and Claires of their generation, we say this: there's no need to worry, young American. You don't need friends. You don't need hobbies. You don't need community. You have your work, and your work is waiting. So get back to it. This has been a presentation of How to Make Friends by A Film for American Youth, Incorporated.